Honestly, I had a stint coaching a Game Changers team, and I think coaching women made me realize that feelings matter and everyone has an opinion and they have feelings and they're all valid, and also just life experience too, which is something a lot of these kids who you get like Oxy, they don't have life experience. Yeah. So just making sure I'm learning from my mistakes more than anything. But yeah, I think when I coached the Game Changers team, that's when I was like, yeah, I really need to listen to people and understand how they are. And then in C9, that just grew and grew and grew.
Hey everyone, Sage Two here. I'm here with Cloud9's head coach Immi after beating 2G 2-0, puts you at 3-1 in the group. So just talk to you about the initial thoughts of just securing playoffs and being in a good position.
Yeah, it's good to secure playoffs. I've done it both years of every split, I think, apart from kickoff the first time. But that's already a bracket. But yeah, every split we've made playoffs, which I'm happy with, especially with like a budget team. But we are definitely good enough to go further than that. So this is just a start. I was probably more nervous for this game than any game. I don't know why, but maybe it was the game last week that made me feel like that now. But yeah, we're ready to crack on in playoffs, and we have a little bit of a plan to help with the nerves.
Do you think a lot of being nervous for this series was because it's in your mind, it's a series that you should win, and because you only have like 5 matches, this is like a must win?
Yeah, I think so. And definitely when I was a player, I would get more nervous about games where we should win. I'd be playing, I'd be like, oh, we're losing. Oh, we're going to lose. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing, you know? And rather than games where we're the underdog and I'm like, well, I'm fine. Like, I've got nothing to lose. I think my players have the opposite from me. They get nervous against the bigger teams, but not nervous versus the smaller teams.
Yeah. That's a really interesting aspect with it. And I want to actually ask you, you alluded to it where you're just talking about it being, I guess, a budget team, but more so just making a lot of surprises. I just want to ask you your philosophy in coaching and how you're able to consistently make rosters that do well and exceed expectations.
I think it's a bit of everything. I think I've learned a lot as a coach and I'm still learning. I think, again, this year I'm coaching the best I've ever coached because I'm just continuously criticizing myself, talking to my peers, making sure I learn from it. I wouldn't say there's one set philosophy, but I think being open-minded is very important in any life. And I always teach my players to be open-minded, make sure I can level with them. How they feel and how they see the game is also very important. It's not good for me to just go, yeah, we're going to play this way, that's it. Like, I've got to listen to my players. They're the ones out there. Like, if they're in a smoke and they go through on time and it's like, I'm not going to, if it's like, let's say it's black and white and we're in a 5v3 and they do that, I'll be like, why are we doing that? You know, what was your thought process there? Like, talk me through it. But if they're in a 5v5 and they take time, and I'd never want to take that away from them and be like, you shouldn't do that, because they're feeling it and they know what they can do better than I know what they can do, you know?
Yeah, and I find that really interesting. And I think, at least when I've watched your previous interviews, you seem like someone that really relies on building these personal relationships with your players and being very empathetic. You've been in Counter-Strike Source and you've coached like for Singularity and Counter-Strike, that 2 months now energy. Yeah. When do you feel like you started to implement empathy and, you know, prioritizing these personal relationships into coaching? Like, when did you start really learning that this was a successful method?
Honestly, I had a stint coaching a Game Changers team, and I think coaching women made me realize that feelings matter and everyone has an opinion and they have feelings and they're all valid, and also just life experience too, which is something a lot of these kids who you get like Oxy, they don't have life experience. Yeah. So just making sure I'm learning from my mistakes more than anything. But yeah, I think when I coached the Game Changers team, that's when I was like, yeah, I really need to listen to people and understand how they are. And then in C9, that just grew and grew and grew.
So what were you like as a coach before? Were you just someone like you were alluding to before, where it was just telling people what they need to do instead of helping them guide them to these thoughts?
No, I would still guide them, but I was definitely more angry, and I was more of a, because when I was in IGL, can I swear?
Yeah, of course.
That was an asshole. Like, when I was in IGL, I was horrible. Like, I would shout at my players. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? In the middle of the game. Oh. Like, literally in the middle of the game, in the middle of rounds, I was bad. And then I coached someone who was like that, a player called Rattlesnake. I don't even remember him. He was a very popular pro, UK pro, and he was the same way. And I was like, wow, this is what I was like. And that's when I learned to like not be that kind of guy and not be shouting at people, because then the players would come to me and be like, it's affecting me. And then I started to realize how bad it really is to be like, just do this, just do this, just do this. Like, if there's something I really believe in, then yeah, I'm going to push it. Yeah. I'm obviously going to push it, because I know when like there's some things that we still do now where I'm like, the players don't really believe in some of the things. And I'm like, no, let's just try it. And I have a philosophy that you should always try everyone's idea at least once and then make an opinion on it.
Is that a philosophy that you've always had with just anything, or was that something that formed more recently?
That was definitely after becoming a coach in general. And it was more C9. I think I've learned a lot in C9 and I'm growing, so that's why.
Yeah. That's actually really cool. I want to ask you, do you have any funny moments with Googly? Because you were in Source, right? Like, you two were teammates. Yeah. Did he ever roast you about that for how much you would yell?
No, he never used to say anything. Like, but I probably used to just shout at him as well, and he must have hated it. But somehow we stayed friends, because out of the game I'm a completely different person. So, but yeah, me and him have been friends now for 20 years, maybe longer. Yeah, a long time.
Did you consistently just always keep in touch with him throughout those 20 years, or was it something? There was some time in between, and then you just recently found a way to connect with him again?
It wasn't consistent. It was on and off with like, how you doing, how's it going? And then there was one time I had some time off, like 3 years ago maybe, and he was living in Valencia, Spain. And I was like, I'm going to travel. I was like, are you still in Valencia? I was like, okay, I'm going to come out there for like 4 days. You want to meet up and that? And we met up, went out drinking, partying together, like boys. And then when C9 started, the very first roster, I was like, okay, we need a little bit of help. Like, I'd like someone to help me out. I know this guy. So I called him. He was actually on a boat on holiday. And he's like, yeah, I can. Yeah, he was on like a yacht, like a full yacht, balling. He's like, yeah, I'm down. And then he worked with us a little bit during kickoff. And then after that first kickoff, we brought him in full time. And then when we got him out here, that's when he started being even better. But even now, he's still improving. I'm trying to teach him. Like, he'll ante and then I'll add to the ante and try and like help him understand like the things he needs to look for. So we have a really good relationship in learning together.
When I think of just certain team dynamics, I think of, I guess, the macro side of things where you're helping bring these ideas to the entire team versus some of the solo stuff that players need to work on. How do you divide that time between you and Googly so that time isn't wasted and practice is optimal?
It's something we're still working on, making sure the things, but I mostly do macro. He'll watch the scrims and he'll put in a little bit of time with the macro, but I'm mostly the macro guy. And we also have players who can help work on the macro, like Mitch, Zeppa. Vic is also a huge voice in macro. This guy has a really good brain. Yeah, he's probably a future IGL. If it was up to me, I think he's a future IGL. So then he will handle one-on-ones. So if we see some stuff, I'll be like, okay, this scrim, I just want you to watch net, for instance. And then he'll go find as many stuff as he can. And we'll be like, okay, he needs to work on A, B, C. And then we'll have a meeting and be like, how are we going to get him to work on that? What do we want him to look at? And then we'll come up with some ideas and then he'll go work with them one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And then in more severe circumstances, I'll take over the one-on-one.
Oh, interesting. It's really cool learning about the dynamics between everything. And I'm going to start closing it out. But I wanted to ask specifically with you because I sat in those press conferences and a lot of the things that the players have been talking about is how you just felt really confident going the split where this feels like the best preparation work that you've done. What has been the biggest thing that's given you that confidence of I'm doing a hella job coaching this split?
I think bringing in Mitch helped us get some structure, but also he listens to me when it comes to the structure side. When we had Vanity, for instance, he's more free flowy. He doesn't want like a full strap book, or like we plan like the start of our games now and we make sure we have a game plan, whereas that wasn't happening before. And now I've got the freedom to do that and actually set out our game plans at the start of the games. It's working a lot better, and that has been the most important thing, I think, around the structure. Like we have the plan when we're going in, what we're going to do, both halves. We don't have to think about anything else. And we also have like a big strap book. Like you'll see me in the coach room with the strap books printed out. Mm. So we always have our strap book and we go over that before every game. Make sure everyone remembers everything. Yeah.
And then final words to Cloud9 fans, Immi fans, Jordan.
Jordan. Jordan, I'm coming for you. But yeah, the C9 fan, thank you everyone for watching. Just keep supporting. I got the haters, but the guys who are still there and are supporting me, I thank you guys a lot. Make sure you tune into the C9 podcast. I'm going to be down there pretty much every week hosting it. So,
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Of course.